me who has been the man, or the young man in our story for several weeks now? Who's been the young man in our story? Do you know his name, Abby? Or are you just raising your hand? Joseph was a young man when we told his story, but that's not the one. That's not the man we've been talking about lately. Jacory. David. That's right. And when this verse comes from when God was showing Samuel who the king was going to be, right? And so what did we say that God saw when he looked at David's heart? What did God see when he looked at David's heart? Does anybody remember what God saw when he looked at David's heart? Jayla? David was after God's own heart. And so that would mean that David had a heart like God, right? Was David perfect? No. David was not perfect. Is any human being perfect? There was only one perfect human being. Does anybody know who the one perfect human being was? And his name was? Jesus. That's right. That's right. So there's one perfect human being, but all the rest of human beings are not perfect. But God said that David was after his own heart. So what do we say? Certain word that we say that David was this kind of a man. David had, we've used this word for the last 3 weeks. Anybody remember him besides Corey or Jayla? No? Jayla. He was a godly man. Remember? We've been talking about godliness. Godliness. Now, we're going to do something a little different this morning. Corey, I want you to come up here. Do you think you remember the stories enough to be like David for a few minutes? Okay? Now, I'm going to ask David some questions. And if you don't know the answers or you can't think of an answer, all of you can help too. But I'm going to give you some hints. We're going to start. I'm going to show you all the pictures. Okay? Remember this picture? Kind of remember what's going on right there? Okay. And then we have this picture. Okay. And then this picture. All right, remember what's going on right there? Okay. What about this picture? Remember who this guy is? And who that is? All right. And what about this one? You know who that is, right? Okay. Remember this one? Okay. And then? Right? Now, remember this picture? Yeah? Okay, so you're getting ready to answer my questions, David, right? Right, David? Okay. So, what about this picture?
Yes.
Okay. And this one? Okay. And this one? And this one?
Joseph.
Yeah, not Joseph. So, David, are you ready to answer some questions? All right, let me see if I can find my questions. Because I had them, but then I forgot them. So I'm going to ask you these questions. David, why are you afraid?
Because Saul trying to kill me.
Because Saul is trying to kill you. Is that a good answer? It's probably okay. So let's see if we remember this. What did you just do in last week? What did you do at the end of the story last week? Saul wanted to kill you, and you did what?
I killed Voegtlin.
That wasn't last week.
What?
You forgot. Okay, Jayla thinks she can help you out. Remember that? You ran to you, and how did you get out of your house? Did you just walk out the front door?
No, Saul's daughter,
Who's your wife, right?
yeah, she took me out the door.
Out the window.
Yes, and told me to run away.
So you're running away, and because you're afraid. Okay, so you're afraid. Why is Saul trying to kill you?
Because
you trying to kill Saul? No. Oh, okay. So why is Saul trying to kill you? You're going to be the king.
Because he thinks that I'm better than everybody.
Yeah, and he is. What does Saul have in his heart? In his mind? He's angry and he's jealous, isn't he? Yeah, he's jealous. So, alright, ask you that. So, you don't want to kill Saul though, right? Are you going to go back to the palace where you've been playing the harp for him? No, you won't go back to the palace? Why won't you go back to the palace? Saul's going to kill you. That's right. It's not safe to go there. So, all right, David. Good job. You can have a seat. What did we say, though, that David had forgotten? David is afraid because Saul is trying to kill him. And is Saul trying to kill him? Oh, definitely. He threw a spear at him. He sent his soldiers over there to get him out of... He even said, bring him in his bed. Remember that? He said, I don't care if he's sick or not, bring him in his bed. But he was already gone. He went running for his life. But what did David forgot? Remember, David's not perfect. He's a man after God's own heart, but he's not perfect, and he forgot something. David, what did you forget? God said you would be the next king, right? So can Saul kill you before you're the king? No, God promised you'd be the king. You're not going to die until you're the king, right? Because God promised it. We can trust God, and David trusted God a lot. But sometimes, and do we ever do that? Things happen and we think, where is God? And we forget to trust God. And that's what happened to David. And David, he was running for his life. He was scared to death. He jumped out the window. Do you think he had a lot of stuff with him when he went out the window? No, he didn't have a lot of stuff with him. And he went to a town. The town is called Nob. And in the town of Nob was where the tabernacle was. And does anybody remember who works at the tabernacle? We learned this lots of weeks ago, a couple months ago. Who works at the tabernacle? Jayla? Okay, Eli. And what is Eli? Eli is dead, but what is Eli? What is he? He's a high priest. Okay, so the priests work at the tabernacle, don't they? And so David went to the tabernacle, and he got to the tabernacle where the priest was, and the priest, when he saw David, he was afraid. He said, "What are you doing here?" And David said, now listen to what David said. David said, "The king sent me on a very important trip." Why did you make that face? It's a lie, isn't it? It's a lie. It's a lie. He said, "The king sent me on a very important trip, and I don't have any of the guys with me that I normally would have, but I told them to meet me here, and we need a little bit of food, and I went so fast I couldn't even grab my sword." And so the high priest said, "Well, I have a little bit of bread here, and I have Goliath's sword." Remember Goliath? So I have Goliath's sword, and you could have those things. And so David took the bread, and he took Goliath's sword, and he went and kept running. Was there any guys that he was going with? No, he was by himself. He was scared to death. But guess what? There was another man there at the tabernacle that day. And it was one of Saul's servants. One of Saul's servants looked, and he saw David there, and he saw the high priest give David that food, and he saw the high priest give David that sword. And what do you think he's going to do? We'll see, won't we? What do you think he's going to do? So David, then, after he got that food and he got the sword, he ran off to the town of Gath. And Gath is a city, well, let me tell you something. A famous man who used to live in Gath. His name is Goliath. Goliath was from Gath. So, who else lived in Gath? A bunch of, what type of people lived in Gath? What do you think? Philistines. So, do the Philistines like the Israelites? No, so David is running to the enemy. He's so scared. He's he's running to the enemy. What did David forget to do? Forgot to pray and ask God what he should do. We don't know what God would have told him because he never asked him. He just was doing his own thing. He ran to the tabernacle and got that food, and then he went to Gath, and the king of Gath said, "Sure, you can stay here." And not long after that, the king's soldiers came to the king and said, "King Achish, don't you remember who that is? That's the guy that killed Goliath. That's the guy that has led the Israel's armies and killed all kinds of Philistines, and we have him here in our city." And David heard the soldiers of the king talking to him, and he started to think, "Uh-oh, I'm not safe here. And thought, what can I do? What can I do? I don't know what to do." And so he started acting like a crazy man. He started just saying goofy things, and he just started acting goofy, and he went over to the wall and started writing things on the wall, and he let spit come out of his mouth and run down his beard. We had this picture of what somebody thought this looked like. So he's there, and he's scratching on the gate, and he's got spit coming out of his mouth, and the king saw him and said, "That guy's not David, he's a crazy man. He just thinks he's David." And he says, "Get this guy out of here. I got enough crazy people around here. I need him to get out of here." And so they kicked him out of the city and made sure he wasn't there. And he was safe then. He escaped. But that was not a very good thing to do, was it? To act like a crazy person. It worked. God delivered him. But he didn't act like, that was a very good testimony. He didn't act like somebody who's trusting God, did he? So, then he went and he hid in the woods and tried to stay away from King Saul. And he was going around different places, and one time, the people of the area where he was, they went up to King Saul and said, "We know where David is." And what did King Saul do, you think? He got 3,000 soldiers, and he came coming after David, and he was coming, and pretty soon he had David completely surrounded. And by this time, some other people had joined David. There was about 400 men with David, and there was 3,000 soldiers with King Saul. And King Saul came, he had him surrounded, and David didn't know what to do. He didn't know. He was completely surrounded. He thought it was going to be the end. But just in time, God did something this time. God sent the Philistines to fight Israel, and the other people came to Saul and said, "Saul, the Philistines are attacking us." And so what do you think Saul had to do? He had to leave David and bring his soldiers up to fight the Philistines. And so David was like, "Well, Saul knows where we are. He can, as soon as he finishes fighting the Philistines, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to come back after us, so we're going to have to go hide somewhere else." And so they moved, and they went somewhere else, and they went to a place where there was this giant cave, a great big cave. So, so far we see that David ran, and now we saw that God protected David. But what do you think? David and his men were in this great big cave, trying to stay out of view, trying to make sure that Saul wouldn't find them. You think Saul heard about them there? He did. And then when Saul heard that he was there, what do you think he did? Saul was filled with hatred and jealousy and envy. What do you think Saul did when he heard they were there? He got his army up, and he went looking for David. And in fact, he didn't know exactly where David was, but he knew he was kind of in the area. He went looking for him. And one time, while he and the army were out, Saul got really tired. He got really tired. So he said he left his men there, and he went back into a cave where he could get some rest. And he laid down in the cave, and he started to get some rest. And what do you think? Whose cave do you think that was? You know, that was David's cave, wasn't it? David was in that cave, and all his men were in that cave. And so, now, we haven't had time to say it, but Saul has been chasing David and trying to kill him for a long time, over and over again. And David's men, what do you think David's men said to him? They said, "David, there's Saul. and he's just laying down. It's like he's going to sleep. What do you think what do they think he should do? What do you think they think he should do? Kill him. That's right. Here's the guy who's trying to kill you. He's throwing spears at you over and over again. He's surrounded you with soldiers. He's just trying to fight and kill you. Whatever he can do, he's trying to kill you. And there he is. He's just laying down to sleep right there. But now David was a godly man, wasn't he? You think David killed Saul? He could have, right? He could have. But he didn't. He knew, even though Saul was doing bad things, that God had also anointed Saul, right? Remember David was anointed king? Who else was anointed king? Saul. Samuel had anointed Saul. God had chosen Saul. And David said, well, but he is anointed by the Lord to be king. I will not kill Saul. But he went and he took his knife and he cut off the bottom of Saul's robe. The bottom of his robe or something that was on the bottom of there. And then he just waited. And after a little while, Saul woke up, he had his rest, and he headed out the cave. And who went behind him? David went behind him. David went behind him and said, "Hey, Saul!" And Saul was kind of shocked, wasn't he? He thought he was in that cave by himself. And David yelled to him and said, "Saul, why are you trying to chase me and kill me? I could have killed you. Look at your skirt. I cut the skirt of your robe off instead of killing you." And Saul wept. The Bible says Saul wept and said, "David, you are a better man than me. I'm going to go home and I will never chase you again. In fact, you can come to the palace with me and serve me some more. I will not kill you." You think David went with Saul to the palace? No, he didn't. He knew Saul could not be trusted. He knew that he couldn't be trusted. So Saul went back and he stopped chasing David. And David kept living out in the wilderness in this spot and that spot. He didn't really have a place to live. He just went wherever he could. And after a while, what do you think happened with Saul? His jealousy built up in his heart some more. And it got worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon, what do you think he did? He got his army. He got his 3,000 soldiers, and he went out looking for David again. This time, they were in a valley. It was nighttime. And what do you do at nighttime? You go to sleep. So the whole Saul's army was all in the valley sleeping. Saul was in the middle of all of his soldiers because he's the king. So he was in the middle of all of his soldiers, and David was not far away. And David thought, I want to go into the camp and see what's going on there. So David took a good man with him, and they went into the camp. And as they walked through the camp, no one saw them. Everybody was sound asleep. Sound asleep. Now, an army doesn't, always somebody's standing out front watching, right? But not today. Everybody was sound asleep. Why do you think that was? Why do you think everybody was sleeping? You think they were just tired? God sent an angel and put them to sleep. And David went right up to Saul's, where Saul was laying down. And the man that was with him said, "David, there's his spear right there. Let me grab his spear. I will kill him with his own spear. And all I have to do is just one time. He won't even hurt. He won't even know he's sleeping, and then he will be gone." Think David let his man do that? No, he didn't. He said, "Saul, I am not going to kill Saul, and I will not let anyone kill Saul. God will take care of Saul. God knows that what Saul is doing, and Saul will die at God's hands, but not at my hands." He said, "But let's grab his spear, and let's get his bottle of water, his big jug of water." So they took his spear and big jug of water, and they went off, and they got far enough away where nobody could get him. And then he started yelling. He said, "Hey, Abner! You're supposed to be protecting your king. Look at your king's spear. Somebody came there and they could have killed him. You are in big trouble." And all of a sudden they woke up. The angel of the Lord came there and let them wake up. And so Abner looked around. "Who is that? Who is that?" "It's David." And Saul woke up and said, "That's the voice of David. David, What are you doing? And he looked, and right next to Saul, where there was a spear, no spear, no jug of water. And Saul's heart hit him really hard. He knew that David had been there and that David could have killed him. And Saul yelled back to David. He said, David, you are a better man than me. I've been chasing you. I'm not going to chase you anymore. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going back to the palace. In fact, you could come back to the palace and serve me. I will not do anything. Do you think David would like to go back to the palace? Who else is in the palace?
His wife.
Well, his palace is in the city. His wife is in the city where the palace is. But who else is in the palace? His friend.
Saul's son.
Saul's son. His very best friend. He would have loved to go and be with Jonathan. That was his very best friend. But he can't trust Saul. Saul so many times has said that. And he can't trust him. And so you think David went with him? No, he didn't. David just kept going and going, and years went by. Not a real long time, but time went by. And the Philistines... No, I'm going to finish the story for us. The Philistines came to fight against Israel, and Saul and his army and his sons led different parts of the army, and they went to fight against the Philistines, and in that fight, Jonathan was killed. And Melchishua was killed. That's another one of Saul's sons. And I think Saul had 3 sons, and all 3 of Saul's sons were killed that day in battle. And Saul could tell it was going bad. People were being killed all around him. And Saul said, I don't want to die by the hands of the Philistines. And he asked his armor bearer, he said, put your spear through me so these vile Philistines don't kill me. And you think his armor bearer wanted to do that? He said no. And so Saul took his own sword and put it on the ground, and he fell down on his sword, and he killed himself. And he died that day. He killed himself rather than let the Philistines kill him. Well, news spread, didn't it? The king is dead, the king's sons are dead, and news spread, and pretty soon somebody brought the news to David. Right? David is off there. Somebody brought the news to David, because people knew. It wasn't just David and Saul. People knew that David was a leader. And many people were thinking, it would be good if David was our king. And so somebody came and told David what happened. You think David was happy now? Saul was dead. But David wasn't happy. It didn't make David happy. David wept himself. He cried. The anointed man of God had died, and his son, his best friend. He tore his clothes, which was a sign of grief. And he even wrote a song remembering Saul and Jonathan. Why do you think David reacted that way? Why do you think David reacted that way? Even when his enemy was killed, he reacted with grief. Let's see. What do you think, David?
Because Saul and his son both died.
Yeah, but why? But Saul was his enemy. Why did you would think he would be happy when his enemy died. Why was he sad when his enemy died? What do you think? He didn't want him to die. Okay? What do you think? Because his son was his best friend. That would be part of it. But he was not just sad because Jonathan died. He was sad one more time over here. What do you think? Okay.
But he didn't, so he put his sword around.
Yeah. It was very sad. And it was sad for David. Pretty much what you said, but why did he think that way? And I will tell you the reason he thought that way is because he was a godly man. He was a godly man. Godly people don't wish evil even on their enemies. Jesus told us to be kind to our enemies, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So our enemies want to hurt us, but do we want to hurt our enemies? No. Now, was David just going to go stick his neck out there and let Saul do that. But David was not going to hurt his enemy. Because, what? David was a godly man. He was a man after God's own heart. And so he was not going to be evil towards somebody, even if they were evil toward him. And we should remember that, shouldn't we? Because shouldn't we try to be godly? Shouldn't we do things that God would want us to do rather than what we want to do? If it was just us, somebody mean to us, what are we going to do? What in our heart, if somebody's mean to us, what do we want to do? We want to be mean back to them, don't we? But is that being godly? No. How many times? You don't need to raise your hand, but how many times somebody's been mean to you and you look for your chance to be mean back to them? In school or in the neighborhood? That's not being godly. Right? So we should be thinking about that. Especially if you have trusted Jesus in your heart and you believe in him and you say, I'm going to obey him, then when people are mean to you, you need to treat them like Jesus would treat them. Not like we want to treat them. And we want to ask God to change our wants so that we want to do what's right, even toward people who are our enemies. God will take care of our enemies. We don't have to take care of them. All right. We're going to sing a song.
All right, everyone, stand up and stretch really quick.